edition of the Traction Reaction Podcast. I'm Steve Zautke. Joining us, it's Mark Dill, of course, author, historian. I've known Mark for over 20 years, going back way back in the old CompuServe days. And Mark threw a curveball here. I wasn't expecting this one. He has a children's book that's out. And tell us a bit about how does this one come up with the idea of a children's book. I think I have an inkling. It could be due to a new grandson, but tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, he's relatively new. He'll be 6 in January, and he's an absolute car nut. I mean, just born that way. I didn't brainwash him. I swear. And my wife actually suggested it to me, and I've long felt that there needs to be more things out there for really young kids to if we expect them to have an interest in motorsports and to catch them at an early age. I caught the bug at a very early age, and once it sinks into you, it's probably going to stay. And so we had fun with it. I wanted to tell the same story of my original book, but cast it in a through line that would make sense to children.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, is the First Super Speedway. So tell us a bit of the plot line of the book then.
Well, it spans the years 1902 to 1910, and there was a heck of a lot of change during those years. And it tells the story primarily rotating around two characters, Carl Fisher and Barney Oldfield, and the obstacles they had, the things they had to overcome. My original book said the battle for the soul of American auto racing. And what I meant by that was it was a culture thing. You might call it red state, blue state. Just you had people in the Northeast who were very Eurocentric, and they bought the European brands, Mercedes and Benz and Panhard, Dirac, Fiat, and those cars, frankly, were a lot better than American-built cars. But you had these guys out in the West, and back then the West was Indiana, Michigan, Illinois, and the Easterners referred to them as Westerners, and that was not a compliment. It was kind of a derisive reference. But anyway, guys like Carl Fisher, Barney Oldfield, and hardscrabble way of life that led them to some great rewards, including financial rewards. But it's the story of how the form of speedway racing established itself in America.
And so what's the biggest difference one goes right from writing a standard, call it standard, I guess, adult book to writing a children's book? What's the biggest difference?
I think it's like really thinking about your audience. And so with some coaching, my daughter is a psychologist and has her own practice. She has expertise in child development, and we decided to write it at the level of a third grade reader. So kids roughly 8 to 11 or 12 can read it on their own. And then the younger ones, like my grandson, can have it read to them. But we were thoughtful about life lessons, and they came naturally. And that was about self-confidence, believing in yourself, and hard work. And that's, Barney and Carl are two guys that personify all that. So that was a life lesson that we hoped we could impart to young readers.
And so does this book have, like a lot of children's books that have paintings or illustrations? Or are you using photos, or how does that work?
Yeah, all of it is artwork. I'm glad you mentioned that. I wish I'd sent you a book. This is the cover. The illustrator is Mary Lynn Smith, and this is her first crack at a children's book. And so she did a lot of good work in there, and I'll just quickly show a few of the pages. But there's Barney Oldfield's Old Glory.
Okay.
So, and on the back, the famous Blitzen bands. So, thanks. That was a good question, and very grateful to Mary Lynn for her work.
And that's a way for I guess one thing you hear a lot about with children and development is one thing that may be missing is the imagination part of it with everything so advanced, whether it's video games or whatnot. It's a good way for them to imagine things, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Good point. Honestly, I hadn't thought about that, but um, yeah, very much so. It's like, and Toby, my grandson, his parents are very cognizant of that, so they have made an effort to limit his screen time. They don't deprive him of it, but they limit it, and they'd rather have him look at or work video games because there's some interaction and some critical
Sure.
thinking than to just sit and watch video. So, but then getting them out in the physical world, which I think is in line with what you just said, so they encounter things and sort of try to figure them out for themselves and problem solving, which requires imagination. So yes,
So, has this book been placed with like the local schools? Do you do book readings, or how does that work?
yeah, we're just starting that. It just came out really at the end of November, but I did a reading at Toby's elementary class, and they're placing it in their library, several copies. Um, we've also worked with uh, Indie Reads. I don't know whether you've heard of that or not, but I'm going to do a thing with them when I come back in May, and so we're working to make it available to elementary school libraries. And so far, everyone we've talked to has been very, very receptive. So I'll take that as a compliment.
And how does one get the book? What's the easiest way to get the book for their grandson or son or a friend?
Yeah, well, thank you. If you want to get an autographed copy, just like my original book, it's markgdill.com. That's my author's website. And I can get that out to you. Aside from that, it's Amazon, likely suspects, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, um, Target, Walmart. There's a Books a Million, and then there's this bookstore that carried my first book, and I just got noticed they carried this one, and that's called Blackwell's, and they're in England. So it's
Oh,
kind of cool to have.
yeah.
I didn't even know where that came from. I was just out of the blue, but maybe there's a lot of people internationally that follow my website, firstsuperspeedway.com, and I'll get comments on the Facebook page I dedicated to that from people all around the world. So somebody might have said, "Hey, I want to look into that."
All right, very good. Well, I certainly appreciate you taking time out. And of course, winter, it's flu season, and Mark's getting over a little laryngitis, so that's why he's a little scratchy. But we appreciate you taking time out, and we'll have all that information at the bottom of the screen and also in the notes on YouTube on the Traction Reaction podcast channel. And we'll have that all that contact information. And I think it's going to be a neat book, and it's certainly a unique book. I think you might surprise a few racing friends if that's underneath the tree this year. So, Mark, thanks for taking time out.
Thank you, Steve. I always enjoy chatting with you.
Appreciate it. What's the website one more time?
markgdill.com is my author's site, and then my reference site where I had all the research is firstsuperspeedway.com. It's free, and you could spend the rest of your life reading it. That's how much content there is on it.
Very good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.